Hi, this is Micornus, Phokane, the leader and the founder of the Young Men Empowerment Forum. Today I want to speak about dealing with conflicts as a young man is very important, especially in the days that we're living in conflict times where everybody's very edgy. And a lot of conflicts that we have, not only as individuals, as young men, we're having conflicts in our own families, in our relationships, having conflicts in churches and outside churches, in working places as well, a lot of conflicts that people are having. And I want to address this concept of conflict, how to navigate conflict through emotional intelligence. And I want to speak about that. And I want to speak about navigating conflict through emotional intelligence. It's very important that when you are dealing with a conflict, you don't just deal with it anyhow. You look at how best can you then deal with conflict, because some of the conflicts are actually exacerbated by the fact of wrong approach. How we deal with them in a wrong way, and that is why they become even exaggerated thereafter. Now, the first thing that I want us to look at today as we deal with conflict through emotional intelligence is that you must learn to address conflicts immediately. And this is very important. You address conflicts immediately and don't wait until it's too long. But as you address them immediately, you're preventing what we call resentment, because resentment generally will develop out of delayed conflict or delayed strife or offense. When somebody's being offended for a very long time, what it does, it develops some strife. So because things are not addressed immediately, then they actually develop to become bigger. And that is why even in relationships, when things are not addressed earlier, and you have got a conflict, you don't address it immediately. You don't address your conflict immediately. The longer you delay, the more worse it becomes. And the reason is because then it becomes at a point where people become resentful towards each other. People becomes bitter, and people don't want to resolve anymore. And I want to urge you as a young man that when you want to deal with conflict in a more emotional, intelligent manner, you must always address issues much more fresher, much earlier. But I want to emphasize while we're speaking about addressing conflicts earlier, that you must judge the situation, because some of them, when you address them too quickly or too promptly, you actually exacerbate the very same conflict. You make it worse, because there are those that are getting more emotional while people are still very emotive and they're still very high in more emotions. It is maybe sometimes very important that you wait a little bit and until everybody calms down and you are able then to address the conflict in that particular state. So, in other words, it's going to be very important that you assess the situation. As much as we say address conflicts immediately, we're not talking about immediately now. While everybody's emotions are flying around, it is very important that you are careful about that you wait until emotions are down, they are calm, and it could be still today. But we're talking about don't delay too long and take longer time to address the conflicts, because the longer you take, as we said, the more the conflict grows and becomes bigger. So be careful of that, and we want to emphasize that today. Second thing, you must reconnect the post-conflict to strengthen relationships, because another problem that people have when there are conflicts is that we don't reconnect after the conflict. You find that we have actually resolved it, we have spoken, we have understood each other, we have agreed to solve this conflict, but yet we don't actually reconnect. And we stay apart, we sit apart, we don't talk, we don't communicate, because you don't reconnect. Therefore, you find that the conflict continues even though you've addressed it. Because it's not only just about addressing it, it's also about reconnecting thereafter. And this is very important. And I want to emphasize this, that as a young man, you need to understand that there are those people that will have conflicts with. Whether it's your family, it could be people at your working place, it could be people at church, but different people. That could be your relations as well, people that you relate with. Now, as you are addressing conflicts immediately, as we have mentioned earlier, you must make sure that after resolving, after discussing, after addressing the conflict, you reconnect. If you are not speaking to each other, if you are not communicating to each other, so therefore start communicating, because that's the way to go. Because if you don't communicate, it actually keeps you at a distance. It's going to be difficult to break the ice again. Because that resolution of conflict or addressing the conflict at that particular time, what it does, it breaks the ice, particularly to people that were not speaking to each other. So it breaks that ice. Therefore, you are able to speak to each other. And after that, continuously speak to each other and reconnect, because that's going to actually make the conflict to go for good and to go away for good. Because that's very important that you are able to reconnect again and start speaking again. Because by so doing, you will be able to address issues very well. Now, I want to say also, while you're speaking, while you're communicating, while you're reconnecting, it is very important that you speak kindly. Because there are people that when they're in conflict, they actually call each other names. And I'm sure you've realized that many relationships have broken because of how people addressed each other while they had conflicts. And I want to emphasize that as a young man, please learn that if you are actually feisty with your emotions, you are high on emotions, don't address issues that time. So speak kindly, and if you cannot speak kindly at that particular time, maybe you still need to calm down a bit. Maybe you need to hold back a little bit and wait for opportune time when you are actually calm enough and you can speak kindly of each other. Because many of the people have actually exaggerated or even worsened some conflicts because of how they speak to one another. They call each other names. They undermine one another. They actually insult each other. And when you do so, you're basically making the conflict to become worse. So speak kindly of each other. Now, when we speak about speaking kindly, we speak about speaking towards each other with high respect, honoring each other by respecting each other. Don't ever disrespect each other in your talk. And as I say, don't ever call each other names, because many times when there's a conflict and you start calling each other names, there are words that you may not be able to withdraw. There are words that when you've spoken them, they are so far-reaching to an extent that you cannot actually, even with any extent of apology, be able to withdraw it. And many times, many people are actually trying to ask for forgiveness thereafter. But because the words were far-reaching, remember that there's a power in your tongue. Whatever you say creates. And whatever you say actually goes deeper for one to actually comprehend it later. And remember exactly what you have said. So if you undermine each other or speak bad about each other, the problem there is that you may not be able to withdraw those words. So therefore, it is very important that even in the midst of conflict, you still speak kindly of each other. You still speak with respect. You still address each other with high respect in a sense that you don't actually disrespect each other along the way while you are addressing the conflict. So this is very, very important. That while you are reconnecting as well, so speak kindly with each other. Find words that will actually comfort each other. Find words that will make each other to connect even more better again. Find words that will actually connect each other and unite each other again. This is very important. Now, as a young man, it is very important that you navigate through conflict through emotional intelligence. It is up to you, because it's actually you who must decide on how to approach things. And it is very important that you have an emotional intelligence yourself, and don't actually say because someone else doesn't have emotional intelligence, then you blame them and say, because they don't have, I want to give them tit for tat. And I want to emphasize that it doesn't work that way. If you have to navigate through conflict, you need to use emotional intelligence. yourself say you need to use emotional intelligence. It's only then that you are going to be able to solve any conflict by using emotional intelligence. As I say, even though the other individual may be rude, the other individual may not have emotional intelligence at all. The other individual may not be having the necessary wisdom to address issues. But it's up to you as a young man to calm down and navigate through the conflict through use of emotional intelligence from your side. And don't blame the other person, but please control your own emotions and make sure that you have got emotional intelligence on yourself and be able to navigate through that conflict. I want to end up here today. This was part 1. We will continue with this very same topic tomorrow in part 2. And I believe that you are learning quite a bit out of this. It will help you to navigate through conflict through emotional intelligence, and you shall never be the same again. Before we check out, we want to remind you of our Facebook page, Young Men Empowerment Forum, and our Facebook page, Micornus Phokane. So these are our platforms, social media platforms. Please like and follow us on social media on that Facebook pages. And also don't forget our YouTube channel. And our YouTube channel is under Micornus Phokane, and there's one under Young Men Empowerment Forum as well. So please make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, click notification buttons as well there, and you will be able to be notified when we have posted material of this kind. Don't forget our TikTok account as well, which is so interactive as well. And we've got a lot of materials that we've posted already in the TikTok account. So please follow us. Our TikTok account is under Micornus Phokane as well. And I want to remind you before we check out that soon we will reintroduce our seminars, which is our face-to-face meetings with you as young men in groups, in individuals as well. We'll do personal coachings on you as well, and advices where you need advices. So please contact us, communicate with us on our social media platforms, interact with us as well. We will announce on our social media platforms of when and where we will be having seminars, and you will actually be able to be invited there. May the good Lord bless you as you are preparing yourself to be part of what we are doing. And allow me to check out right here and say cheers for now.